Hello friends, welcome to another lecture of Conceptual Psychology, and in this lecture we'll be studying about substance related and addictive disorders, in which we'll cover alcohol, which is the most important, then we'll cover opioids, cannabis, cocaine, nicotine and hallucinogens, and then we'll have a brief word about behavioral addictions, which have been the recent additions in the classificatory systems. So first let us understand some terminology like ICD-11 uses harmful use and dependence, right? This is in ICD-11. DSM-5 has clubbed both and they just mention substance use disorder. They don't divide it into harmful and dependence, but we still need to understand what dependence is. So dependence is basically characterized by three features. One is that once they start using it, there is difficulty over control, right? Difficulty on stopping it. Second is that salience. As I mentioned, they give significance to the substance. So job, harm, social life, family life, finances, everything comes secondary, and their primary focus becomes obtaining the substance, right? That would lead to significant impairment and dysfunctioning. And third is the physical features or the physiological features through the receptors, through the neurobiology where the substance acts, and that is basically tolerance and withdrawal. We'll see what tolerance and withdrawal is. So as you know, tolerance, the term is that your threshold increases. Here what happens is basically that once the patient has started using some X amount of substance, right? So over a period, the neurobiology will become such that the person will require more substance to give the same effect. So it may happen that the person is using X for 6-7 months, X amount. So over a period, because of the receptors sensitivity and the downregulation, the need might become 2x, that is tolerance. Withdrawal is whenever the substance is withheld. Now the point is that what happens is there is some rebound symptoms. We'll see how, but that is called as withdrawal. Again, these both are physiological phenomena. And then there is a psychological phenomena, psychological dependence, which is craving. This psychological dependence in certain substance, they cause more craving rather than just physiological symptoms, right? We'll go through it. So physical dependence is tolerance plus physical withdrawal, and psychological dependence is craving and compulsion. Next, what is harmful use? It is just pattern damaging physical health, mental health or health to others. This health of others has been recently added, new added. Previously it was just harm to the patient, but it has been added to broaden the diagnostic spectrum, right? So harmful use is pattern damaging physical, mental or health of others. They may not have difficulty in control of use, or they may not have tolerance withdrawal, right? So that is only harm. Substance use disorder, you need not go into the details. It has basically 11 criteria. Intoxication, what is intoxication? Basically when a transient substance is used, right, then after an amount there are certain symptoms caused. That is because of the receptors occupancy or the mechanisms through which they act. And once the substance clears off from the body, the intoxication symptoms are removed. But certain substances have life-threatening intoxication symptoms. So we need to understand that. And then there is a wonderful phenomena called as kindling, which is basically what happens is that because of repeated withdrawals become progressively more severe even with the same level of use, because tolerance develops, then develops a neuronal sensitization, which is why repeated alcohol detoxifications carry escalating seizure risk. So the point is, the more substance, the more withdrawal. So more withdrawal you have, it will lead to the neuronal sensitivity increase. Hence, then the basically what happens, the threshold for the seizures keep on decreasing. So more the withdrawal, higher the chances of withdrawal further increases, and seizure risk increases because of the neuronal circuit sensitivity. This phenomena is also seen in seizure. When there are repeated seizures, they lead to neuronal sensitivity and firing that would reduce the threshold. So more the seizures, more number of seizures, which are followed by further more added seizures. So we need to control that. And it is also seen in bipolar affective disorder. So in that, we see that more number of episodes that would cause the neuronal sensitization, and that would again have frequent and more number of episodes. That is why we see that when the episodes number of increase over a period of time, the frequency increases, there is chance of the patient going into a rapid cycling, that is 4 or more than 4 episodes per year. So this is Kindling phenomena. This might be an MCQ where you need to understand that the disorder itself, like here the withdrawal disorder, will cause neuronal sensitization, and the chances of further episode, further seizures, they increase, right? Also seen in seizures and bipolar affective disorder. Now, etiology, understand that the final pathway, the initial pathways would be different for different systems, but final pathway basically it converges on increased dopamine in nucleus accumbens. We know that the reward pathway. So it's kind of the mesolimbic pathway from midbrain to nucleus accumbens, right? That is the reward circuit, prefrontal cortex, amygdala. So from midbrain to nucleus accumbens, the fibers goes, and there is increase, short spurts of increase in dopamine. Now we have seen in schizophrenia that dopamine has functions of, or in neurobiology also, it has functions of motivation, desire, reward, reinforcement. So that is how, if repeatedly that is done, then an addiction develops, because that also reduces rapidly. So there is a spurt, rapid reduce. So the patient might be requiring more frequency of amounts to give that rise of dopamine. So you need to remember that the ultimate pathway is increased dopamine in nucleus accumbens, the reward circuit, right? And then there is something called as reward deficiency syndrome. What happens in certain people, there is already underactive reward system. This is kind of a genetic thing, it is biological thing, that they have increased D2 receptors. Now because of this, they will need more stimulation to have that feeling of high. So these people are more vulnerable because they a little bit of high, like appreciation, or a little bit of high like sharing emotions, little bit of high like winning something, some achievements, this may not give significant height to them because the dopamine receptors are already less. So even dopamine is released, the receptors are less, so the further pathway is not possible, right? Now because of this, they'll need something that basically increases the chances of more dopamine release, and in a more frequency and more amount, hence they are more vulnerable. Now why does it become compulsory? This is just for understanding, is that what happens is reward basically is part of ventral striatum, right? So what happens over a period, the whole control shifts from ventral striatum to dorsal striatum. So if when this happens, what happens is basically the reward pathway becomes compulsion pathway. Hence it becomes that despite the harm, because it has become a compulsion now, the patient might require the continuous use of it, right? So reward to compulsion, ventral striatum to dorsal striatum. Now etiology. See, basically the biopsychosocial whole concept, so it could be genetical, it could be reinforcement, because it gives positive symptoms, or negative reinforcement. It reduces anxiety, brings sleep, it reduces stress. Then there is social, peer pressure. Easy availability is the very major determinant. More availability, more liquor shops at every 500 meters, the chance of the vulnerable person having this substance use disorder, or let us say harmful use or dependence, increases. Again, personality, mostly the traits where there is impulsivity and novelty seeking, right? We have seen in the extraversion and the agreeableness, right? So that kind of thing basically, or let us see consciousness also. So where there is novelty seeking, where they get bored easily, right, and they seek something that gives them high, those persons are more vulnerable. So that would be ADHD, that would be conduct disorder, that would be dissocial personality disorder, right? Now coming to the first substance, alcohol. Here you need to remember that though the slides may be a little bit exhaustive, there are particular points to remember. One, how does the alcohol act? What are the features of intoxication withdrawal? Why withdrawal is severe? How do we manage that? What are the complications of alcohol use and alcohol withdrawal? Specifically, if they are not managed appropriately and not managed in time, and certain tools of assessment, right? So this is, if you only remember the first line, it's more than enough. One standard drink is 10 ml of absolute alcohol, which has 7.8 grams specific gravity. You need to remember this. There's no concept behind this. The helpful thing is it will help us that how much quantity the person is taking based on the type of liquor, beer, wine, whiskey, gin, rum, and how much amount. So we will get an idea how much standard units he is taking, and the medication for withdrawal is based on the number of units he is taking. So that will help us manage the withdrawal part. The absorption site is mostly from stomach, but mostly from small intestine. And here what happens, it is competes with B1, that is thiamine absorption. And you will see that most of the complications in a long-term alcohol use, these are because of thiamine deficiency, which occurs for two reasons. One person has chronic use of alcohol, he'll definitely eat less food, so the overall nutrition reduces. And other is that this intestine, which is same site for absorption, so there is a competition between alcohol and thiamine. So alcohol, if it goes, the lesser amount of thiamine is being absorbed from the cell, from the small intestine and going into system. So that also leads to deficiency. Remember this, B1 thiamine deficiency is a major question asked and the complications related to it. We know that, with food, the absorption delays, the gastric emptying delays, and with oily food also, that is why they have this chakna along with it. So the absorption is slow. Otherwise, if the absorption is high, it may lead to sudden intoxication symptoms. And women reach higher levels per unit. So as relative to males, same amount the women may reach a high earlier because of less body water and less gastric ADH. So the metabolism of alcohol, the next step, you need to remember that it is predominantly metabolized by liver. So if there is liver damage, reduced alcohol excretion or metabolism, that will lead to severe complications because more alcohol will be in the body. So severe complications. Then the other thing that you need to remember here is that there are two steps of alcohol metabolism. First is ethanol, which is most common in alcohol. It is converted to acetaldehyde by alcohol dehydrogenase, and acetaldehyde to acetate is converted by aldehyde dehydrogenase. Because this is aldehyde, so you need aldehyde dehydrogenase to convert it into acid. Now this aldehyde is toxic. Why we need to remember this is that one of the medication that we use as a relapse management strategy for alcohol dependence acts on this enzyme. So this will inhibit this enzyme. So what happens? Acetaldehyde will not be converted to acetate, and acetaldehyde is toxic. So that will lead to certain reactions which might be very scary for the person, like nausea, flushing, sweats, tremors, certain cardiovascular issues, vomiting severe. So the person may develop aversion. So after giving this drug, if the person consumes alcohol, this drug will stop the metabolism at acetaldehyde, which is toxic, and he will have this very distressing symptoms. So he might develop aversion and further avoid alcohol. And this drug is Disulfiram. The rest of the drugs that are used, they prevent craving. This is something which is an aversive agent. The tolerance phenomena, you need to remember that, what happens is initially more impaired on the rising limb than the falling limb at the same level. Reverse tolerance, as I mentioned, if there is liver disease, they are intoxicated on smaller amounts also because the metabolism is reduced, right? And there is sensitization, where increased response with repeated use, because that is seen in cocaine, amphetamines, opioids, and cannabis, because the reward pathway changes. It doesn't remain the same. So you need to remember that alcohol over a period there is tolerance, so he'll need more amount. Initially, there is tolerance, tolerance is more impaired on rising limb. So once the substance is removed from the body, the brain gets more adjusted. So later on, even the rapid rise won't cause tolerance. Then is, or rather, rapid rise won't have impaired tolerance. Then it is a reverse tolerance where liver damage is there, so the metabolism is hampered. So even smaller amount will accumulate more alcohol and more damage. And there is a phenomena called as sensitization, where there is increased response with repeated use. Generally, what happens when we give substance, keep on increasing amount or keep a continuous use, there comes a tolerance that at the same amount the effect will not come, so they will keep on increasing the amount. But what happens with amphetamines, opioids, cannabis and cocaine, out of which cocaine and amphetamines are stimulants? This can also be one of the question. Cocaine, amphetamines, tobacco, they basically stimulate the systems. Opioid, it is basically after euphoria, if it is taken in more amount, it leads to depression, respiratory depression. Alcohol also will give initially a little bit of disinhibition because of certain prefrontal cortex phenomena, but later on it also leads to overall suppression, CNS suppression. So the respiration rate will slow down in intoxication, the vitals will slow down, and that may lead to significant complications, even death.